There we go.
Hello, Bird.
Hey, Bird.
Hello. You made me get off a really interesting conversation. It was just ending, so it's okay.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
Good David.
See you.
Howdy. Good to see y'all.
There we go. Okay. There's
Eddie
Steve.
hiding?
No, Eddie's not hiding. Eddie's just trying to fix something.
Eddie's always trying to do something.
I know. I know.
Who's all here? Oh. Hi, Carpani.
Nice to see you, David.
Oh, here's the list.
Hey. Well, hello. We got one more person. Boom. There we go. And one more thing we need to do here. All right, I'm going to hit the record button. So please be aware of that. Be aware that we're recording as of right now. All right. We're also broadcasting on Access Humboldt and Channel 7. We're having a couple issues with our Facebook, but we will try and fix that later. And we're also on Sudden Link Channel 11. I want to welcome everybody to this meeting. I'm Eddie Morgan. I'm the chair. And I know all of you are going to help me out because this is the second time I'm doing this. And so we're going to call the roll call, and the secretary is going to take care of that for us. Is that correct?
Absolutely. All right, folks. I'm just going to go through the list as I'm seeing them on the Zoom here. And I see Commissioner Eddie Morgan.
Here I am. Sorry about that. There you go.
No worries. I see new commissioner, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name, Dotso Perkins.
Here. Hello.
Hi there. Glad to have you.
Great to see you.
Yeah.
We've got
You
Commissioner Larson here.
Here.
Thank you, Carol. I've got Commissioner Aronoff here.
Present.
Thank you. Got Commissioner Lochte here.
Here,
Thank you, Bird. I've got Commissioner Rowe here.
Here.
Thank you. I've got Commissioner Jim Glover here.
Here.
And we also have Commissioner Larry Miller here.
Here.
And I don't think I'm missing any commissioners at this time.
And I feel it's fair to say that we do have a quorum. Is that correct?
Do.
Thank you, Secretary. All right. So, Mr. Glover, were you going to say something?
If you give me a chance, I will. Yeah. Depends on what you ask next.
Okay. No, go ahead. If you're going to say something, yeah, feel free, sir.
Oh, well, if you are going on to agenda adjustments, I would suggest that since we do have a representative from the city of Eureka with us, that perhaps we move the item about the Eureka Police Department texting from old business to a point earlier in the agenda, maybe where we would normally have a guest speaker.
Yeah, I have no objection to that. I think unless my understanding that we have a relatively short report on that as that investigation is going on, but yeah, we can open it up to the discussion, and I think we can totally do that. Anybody opposed to that, to changing the agenda? The order of the agenda, that's what I'm saying.
No problem.
Okay, can I see anybody Lochte, are you okay with that? Am I following all rules and regulations? Mr. Secretary, am I good to go on that? Do I get your permission? You're on mute, sir.
I would ask, do we need to take a vote on changing this? Does Jim or Bird know?
No, not for rearranging it. We're just putting it before, but I do want to get a kind of consensus, like if somebody feels adamantly, I wouldn't want to do it, but I don't think this is a big deal. So I think we can go ahead and move on. So I will move that earlier on into our system. And if I forget anything, I'm pretty sure the secretary will correct me and put me in my place. If
I've got it in the notes already, Eddie. Perfect. We're good to roll.
Thank you, sir. All right. So next line of order is the agenda, our previous agenda. The minutes. We want to go ahead and accept the minutes. Mr. Secretary, do you have any comments or thoughts? And thank you for what you do.
Absolutely. I'm more than happy. I want to just comment. I did amend and clear all of Bird's comments on the minutes. So any of the comments that Bird did make on these minutes have been rectified inside the minutes. And so that has been done.
That's why
You're
it's so
speaking
clean.
Of all three sets of minutes, you mean?
All 3 sets of minutes indeed.
Oh,
David,
yes, Aaron.
did you get my little email about the very last set of minutes that was to address I think we had a task made to address our application process for the commission. And we're supposed to rewrite it. And then probably Bird thought, well, gee, why do we have to do that? Why don't we just use our mission statement? So I just wanted to clarify in the minutes that task was completed.
I actually do not recall that, Aaron, so I will need to review that. So we should hold on the April minutes then.
Okay. Does
All right.
anyone else remember what went on there? Bird?
Yes, it was Jim's idea and the committee recommended that at the meeting.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you for that memory.
Okay, so we are discussing if we're going to approve or not approve the April 1 minutes. And Mr. Secretary, I'm hearing that you want to make some changes.
Well,
Take your time. No pressure.
What I have in the minutes right now for bylaws and policy review, it says Lochte reviewed the committee's recommendations for the commissioner to consider. A couple of minor typos will be corrected and the draft will be available under copy of draft bylaws in the drive. This constitutes the bylaws requirement for a written proposal to be presented to the commission 30 days before approval. So the committee's recommendations will be submitted for approval at the regular May meeting.
That's a different issue.
Yes, it is.
So then we're missing what Aaron's talking about.
Sounds like it. What we had agreed to do was to send to recommend a different wording on the application. And I don't know that that's ever been forwarded to the powers that need to see it.
Oh, I see.
Am I looking at the right section here? Sorry, for bylaws and policy review. Is that what we're looking at?
No,
Do I scroll down or up?
well, it's in the minutes of the April meeting. It wouldn't be on this.
Oh, okay, got it.
agenda.
I'm sorry. Got it. All right. So I think we need to do some more work on them. Mr. Secretary, I don't want to put anything.
Yes, what I'll do is I'll follow up with Jim, because Jim took those minutes and I'll do what I need to do to get them where they need to be, and then we'll get those presented at the next monthly meeting.
Jim? Mr.
I
Glover, go
moved
ahead.
Pardon?
Go ahead, Mr. Glover.
I move that we approve the minutes for the February 11th and February 24th meetings.
Second.
Oh, yeah, I shouldn't
Okay.
second that myself. As the secretary.
Do we want to have any discussion on those minutes before we move on? I'm not hearing any discussion. Okay. Can I see all the yeses on accepting the minutes that Mr. Glover recommended? Go ahead, Mr. Glover. All right.
That was a vote.
Yeah, that's a vote. Can I see anybody opposed? I don't see anybody opposed. Mr. Secretary, do you agree with the count?
Yes, yes, I do.
Okay, so the minutes are approved as discussed. All right. So just for the record, so we have agreed on the 11th February minutes, the February 24th, and then April 1st, we are going to fix and present them again in our next meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, sorry for reiterating things. At this point, do we have any guests or people that would like to present? Mr. Glover.
Treasurer's report
Oh, yeah.
first.
Oh, my God, I'm a bad person. Treasurer's report. Is she here? No, I do not
No,
see
but
her.
I've received the statement from the bank, so I could share that with you in lieu of Mary being here.
Okay, and Mr. Secretary, you're going to note the absent in our chart there. I think this has happened a couple of times. Thank you, sir. Mr. Glover, you please go ahead.
Okay, the balance in the account right now is $657.40. That was as of March 31st. I haven't seen a newer bank statement since then.
All right, well, we'll need to work on that. Hopefully she'll come in a little while. At this point, since we've talked about the treasurer's report, do we have any guests or presenters? No, I do not see anybody from the public. Is there any public comments?
Eddie,
Yes, sir.
excuse me, we agreed to move the Eureka PD.
I am getting there. Don't worry, I can see them.
Yeah, but public comment comes after that.
Okay. Let me just quickly take a look here. I'm not going to jump him over. All right. At this point, I am going to jump and have Mr. Saltry, Flattery, excuse me, tell us about the topic that we were going to discuss that has to do with the texting issue. Let's call it the texting issue. And what we agreed as a committee, and Mr. Secretary, correct me if I'm saying anything wrong here, Mr. Glover, feel to jump in there, and you too, Ms. Lochte, that we were going to check in to see if anything further has occurred with the investigation. And so we're checking in with the City of Eureka and the police department to see if anything has changed or proceedings as to the investigation of the texting issue that had came up at the last meeting we had. Mr. Glover, you have your hand up.
Did you receive the letter from Chief Watson? I have a copy of it. I don't know if
Yes.
Mr.
Why
Slattery does.
don't you read it to us? Because I did, no, I have not received it.
Okay, you want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Dear esteemed members of the Human Rights Commission, as I will be unable to personally attend this week's HRC meeting due to another commitment, I wanted to give you an update on the status of the officer texting probe, the independent third-party investigation into the Eureka Police Department officers who reportedly engaged in inappropriate work-related text messaging on their personal devices has been launched and is still actively underway. Sergeant Rodrigo Reina Sanchez and Officer Mark Mefta remain off duty on extended administrative leave with their peace officer powers removed and will remain so pending the outcome of this impartial and objective investigation. As previously reported to the community, the city hired San Francisco Bay Area law firm Sachs, Ricketts and Case LLP to conduct an outside administrative investigation at my request. Per the written agreement, as an independent contractor, the firm has the right to determine the means, manner, and findings related to the investigation. The city agrees to allow the firm full discretion to undertake the investigation and otherwise make findings without influencing or interfering with the outcome. The investigation is in the capable hands of the firm, and we do not yet have a specific time frame for its conclusion. However, I have conveyed my expectation that the investigation be expedited as quickly as it can be, completed reasonably. Now we must allow the time, space, and independence for the investigation to complete its work while fully respecting the constitutional and due process rights of all involved. It is important to us that this investigation be thorough, complete, fair, and objective in order to get to the heart of the matter so that I can then take the appropriate and sure action based on the results. We are eager to get to the bottom of this as soon as possible and to move forward toward appropriate corrective and accountability measures and community healing. EPD has proactively prioritized procedural justice and implicit bias training, principled policing, since 2018. 5 internal classes have been presented to date, with 67 current and former EPD members and 6 citizens participating. About 75% of our officers received the training within the first fiscal year, or the first year. We held new classes in both March and April of this year, with around 31 EPD members participating. We will continue to emphasize and expand upon fair and impartial police training and practices that reflect the values of this department, the city, and our community. All of the training, culture, and progressive policing techniques and changes we've implemented over the last 3.5 years plus are making a difference. But as recent events have illustrated, we recognize we are not done and much work remains. We are fully committed to this positive transformation and more resolute than ever to continue to earn and safeguard our community's faith and support. We will continue to work toward innovative programs in progressive community-focused ways that align with our community needs and with what our community needs and expects from us. As difficult and disappointing as this situation has been, I see an opportunity here to affect lasting positive change. That will only move our department, positive change that will only move our department and our relationship with our community forward. Respectfully, Stephen Watson, Chief of Police of Eureka. I hope I didn't read what you were going to read.
Oh, I think that was an excellent letter. Thank you for reading that, Mr. Glover. And Mr. Salter, I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name. Is there any other updates you would like to talk about or bring? Because we're going to go into the discussion and then we might ask you a couple of questions, but are there any other updates that you would like to add to the letter?
I just want to say thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. And good evening, commissioners and chairperson. I appreciate you guys having me. I want to apologize for not being able to make the previous meeting. I had intended to, and a conflict came up prior to that. I'm sure I wasn't here when Chief Watson was here, but I assume I'm echoing his sentiments when we say how disappointing this was, and very much so not reflective of the culture that we want to portray, not only for the community, but especially at EPD. For myself, this has been extremely difficult for me. I've had troubled employees throughout my career and had to deal with them. POBAR is a whole different ballgame in addressing employee discipline and employee investigations, and it's something that's new to me. While it's been frustrating, I think that it benefits the overall investigation. You know, it's those rights are, and POBAR is the Police Officers' Bill of Rights, but those are intended to protect the police officer. I think it also does a good thing for management. It allows us the ability to do a comprehensive investigation and make sure that we get to the root of everything, and make sure that regardless of how high this has to go, even if it comes up to my level, that investigation happens, and we can ensure full participation from those employees that are being investigated, as well as other people that are being interviewed. So I do see this as an opportunity It's extremely disappointing. I do know that, I worked closely with our community services department and development of the social services programs that the city have with Uplift and CAPE and working with CSET. And we've come a long way in that arena. And it's clear that some of the, I don't even want to call it low guard, but there's certain beliefs that need to be eradicated or drastically changed in order for us to continue to move forward in a positive direction. I can tell you we took this very seriously in the discussions when we found out about this. It was immediate that the police officer rights were taken away and they were put on admin leave. I was adamant about that, and we wanted to make sure that that did happen. And I also want to make sure that there's an open line of communication with everybody involved in Eureka, as well as the community. And so prior to us sending out, the first public records request asked, I made sure that we reached out to advocacy groups. So we reached out to the NAACP, Black Humboldt, Betty Chin, Bob Santilli at SVDP. We reached out to Brian Hall. I reached out to Nezzy Wade at AHA to let them know that I wanted it to hear from me that these things were going to come out, and that this is going to be a process that we're going to go through. And when we're done with that process, I want to make sure they're involved in the movement forward and progressing out of this situation once we deal with what we need to deal with. But we want to make sure that the community is involved in future programming and future training and those type of things to make sure that the staff that we hire throughout the city don't share these same feelings, and make sure that we have a very diverse and equitable staff. We want our city staff to reflect what we want for our community. What's amazing to me is that we are in the middle of approximately a year of working on a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan with a consultant from out of the area. And for this to come up at this time while we're in the middle of that was extremely disappointing. But I also see that as an opportunity to make sure that people feel comfortable coming forward so that it reflects the visions and values of everybody at the city, as well as the community. So it starts with the city, and then we hope that that goes on to the community to make sure that our community reflects, inclusion and diversity. And so I'm here for questions. I'm limited on what I can answer, but I will do my best to answer any questions that you guys have.
Thank you very much, sir. Bird Lochte? You're on mute.
If there's a person in the community who feels threatened by making a charge against someone in the police department, what is the avenue for that person to be heard by this investigating group?
So as a specific that we have heard from community members, obviously a lot of those are, there's two sides to every story. And what happens when we receive that information is I take that information and forward it on. I've heard from probably about 10, I would say, community members, and that's forwarded on to the independent investigator. And then they evaluate as to whether or not an interview should take place. Right now, the process has started. It's very hard to say how long that process will be, but I would encourage them to reach out to me, and I would take that and forward it on to the investigation. We're really trying to do this from a third party perspective so that there's no thoughts of, I don't know. It's, as you can tell, it's pretty frustrating for me. It's been a learning experience for me, and it's been very frustrating in dealing with lawyers and investigators and those type of things. But I can assure you that the intent is to get to the bottom of this, and we intend to, that's for sure.
Did I understand you to say that the complaint or the whatever somebody has to say will go through you to the group?
I don't want to
Has
dictate
no
that.
direct
You can
avenue to
It does.
contact the group. the,
Well, no, it has a direct avenue. I mean, that's why we had a public records request asked, and everybody knows that the law firm of Sachs and da are doing it. And Todd Simonson is the investigator. So if they would like to go directly to them, I encourage them to.
okay, all right. So,
And however they feel comfortable, I'm fine with that.
is that information being made available through the media and various avenues so everyone can get it easily?
The Lost Coast Outpost reported on it, and the same Jason Pohl at the SACB reported on it. It is out in the media,
Thank you.
and it's in the letter that the chief just provided you guys.
Thank you.
Mr. Glover.
I'm just curious, aside from the officers that are directly involved, what has there been any obvious effect on community relations with the police officers on duty since this has taken place?
I haven't heard of any reports specifically, but I've definitely been in meetings where this has tainted our relationship with a lot of the advocacy groups. It's frustrating for me because my relationship with EPD has been on the CSAT and Uplift side, where we do provide social services, and we've developed really good relationships with those groups that I talked about before. And so it's disheartening and disappointing. We're going to have to earn that trust back. I do know that this is not pervasive throughout. I know that it clearly exists. We just need to find out, like I said, how far it goes and how high it goes. And we're going to do that.
Yes. Mr. Arnoff.
Yeah, I just have a real quick question. Who actually did the hiring of the Sachs company? Why were they?
Well, it wasn't we were evaluating who. They gave us different options. So it is Liebert, Cassidy and Whitmore is our basically firm that we deal with for personnel issues that rise to this level. And when we were given the information, I know there's a lot of concern in the community that this person used to be a police officer. However, this person has done the last 15 years of his career, has worked on the management side and has a really good track record of being on the management side. So that was recommended to us. I know what's going on in the investigation, and if it's interpreted by them in a way that I don't think is good, I have no problem going with another investigating and starting all over. But I'm feeling pretty comfortable in what's been going on so far. And I know there's a lot of concerns in the community. I've heard from them about previous investigations that have been performed by this individual, and those haven't risen to the level of where I would think that we made a bad decision.
But the decision was yours, or was it the?
It was recommended. The ultimate decision was mine.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Haney.
Oh, your speaker's not working.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Sorry about that, folks. I want to thank City Manager Slattery for coming and giving us this update. It's very appreciated. Also want to thank Police Chief Watson for the letter that he sent in. I just have one short comment. I just personally really dislike hearing about the training that officers receive. I see it on Lost Coast Outpost when something happens. I see it in these letters. Training doesn't change hearts. What changes hearts is opening up to the beauty that BIPOC people provide to this community is what changes hearts. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
And I fully agree with that. I think that the training is a part of that, but I don't think it's the end all be all. I think the relationships that we've developed have been significant. I can tell you in working with, and I'll call him out, Leonard LaFrance, I can tell you that person is very aware and very compassionate for everybody. It's not have anything to do with color or religion or anything like that. He is truly there for providing. It's not necessarily to protect and serve. It's there to help and aid people get to where they want to go. There's been a huge reversal since we've started Uplift. I've worked for the city since 2006. I've overseen our field crews and parks and open spaces and ran the harbor. And a lot of these issues we deal with are in the harbor. And there's been a significant change in the way that those more disadvantaged community members are dealt with by our staff. It's not 100%, but I can tell you that the things that have happened since CSET have started and since Uplift has been a part of this has made a significant difference. And it's clearly not enough, and we need to do more. And I don't think that training is going to solve that. That's for sure.
Thank you for your comments, everybody. I am looking to see if there's any public comments. Carol Larson, are you with us? Do you have any comments? I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that we're in contact. Yes.
Thank you. I tried to show my little hand.
Okay, we have not been seeing it. I have not seen it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Slattery, for being here and speaking with us as commissioners. I am from the American Indian community. And when you spoke of your training in conjunction to our other commissioner, David's comments, having been in a position where discrimination has been displayed towards me and others in our community, I was wondering if part of the training is to have your officers and your trainers participate in local ethnic group meetings. By having their presence there, it may gain the community's trust, and it allows the community to see that, yes, they are striving to learn about us, have empathy with us, sympathy with us, know about us, understand maybe some of our cultural traditions, and maybe why when asked if you're, say, being arrested, you don't, if someone, they tell you to put your hands behind your back and you're hesitant, maybe because you have an issue or something like that. If they learned about those types of aspects of our cultural communities, I was just wondering, is that something that your training has considered?
Well, that's the exact reason why I reached out to the WIAT, NAACP, Betty's, St. Vincent de Paul's, Eureka Rescue Mission, all of them prior to us sending out the Public Records Request Act for that exact purpose. That I think that this training doesn't go far enough, and I think that we need to be participants in all of those organizations and be a part of that and mandate that they do become a part of that so they have a better understanding. We started some of that with HSU recently, but I think it needs to go further than that. And I think that you make a great point. I think that that's exactly what we need, especially with our local groups, because that's the best way that we can learn and develop those relationships that I was talking to David about. I think it's all about the relationships and having an understanding. I know that it's difficult for police because you deal with a lot of things that can make you jaded. And I think that there needs to be some interim stuff that stops that jadedness from happening, if that's a word, but they need to realize that, even though it feels like you're doing the same thing over and over to the same group of people, they need to see the other side of that and have compassion. And I definitely do think that there's been a lot of strides made in that more recently, but it's clearly not enough, and there needs to be more of it.
I see one of our members in the public has their hand up. Ms. Burns, would you like to say something?
Yes, speaking of relationships, Mr. Slattery, which you just referred to, just a moment earlier, I heard you refer to people of color and communities. people that are how they are dealt with. And to me, that raised a red flag, the language. And I just think, as Carol Larson was just saying, it is about relationships. It is about blending. It is about caring about the humanity of the people and not the people that are being controlled. So I just wanted to make that expression that it, the narrative and the language that we use often sheds a light on a question. And I'm not making any assumptions about what you said, but having a relationship with someone and dealing with someone are two different feelings for me. So
And I agree. And when I was referencing dealing is when you have, you know, an interaction with somebody from a police officer's standpoint. When I'm saying dealing with somebody, so somebody calls and make a complaint, it's their job to go deal with that. And I meant it from that standpoint, not necessarily from the relationship standpoint. So when a police officer gets a call, they're sent out somewhere to deal with a particular issue. And so I meant it from that perspective, not from a relationship perspective.
And so perhaps it could be a situation that they were going to address rather than deal with. Perhaps they would be looking at what is this relationship and move into the situation with that in mind, rather than how am I going to deal with this. And that's just.
I'm sorry.
Splitting
I
hairs,
understand.
but
I do understand what you said. It does sound like semantics to me, but yes, I understand what you're saying. It's not, to me, a deal and address are very similar, but I can see where you're coming from as far as addressing it as opposed to dealing with it.
thank you.
And just to, and thank you for that, Garpani. And just to make just to explain how, personally me, when I heard that language, I immediately cut off and stopped listening to you, city manager, just to explain how another person of color might receive that. So just to let you know how it's received and why language matters.
Oh, I fully understand. And there was no intent to that. And I appreciate being informed of that, because there was no intent in that way.
All right. Larry, I don't see anybody from the public here. Commissioner Perkins, and if I mispronounce people's name, you still there? And Aaron, you have anything that you want to say? I know you said some things before.
On this topic, no.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to say anything? Okay. Commissioner Perkins or Datsun, anything you'd like to say before we go to the next subject?
Nope, I'm just listening to everything and getting acclimated here.
Thank you. And we know you're a new commissioner, so we want to make sure that you're participating and you can hear us. That's why I was kind of checking, making sure that all that is working.
And Eddie, you were probably right on with the wavelength, because shouldn't we introduce Dotso? Now, this is her first meeting, and I think typically after the roll call, I apologize if I had forgotten it, but typically after the roll call, we would introduce new commissioners.
I think I stand corrected. I think you're right, Secretary. Would you like to introduce yourself so we don't mess it up any further, and tell us a little bit about yourself? And welcome to the group. Just where you're from and why you would like to be on this commission, and nothing too stressful.
Okay. My connection's a little bit bad. I'm at a softball field right now in my car. My name is Dotsa Perkins, and I'm from Southern Humboldt. I was born and raised in northern Mendocino, out in a small community called Whale Gulch, south of Shelter Cove. And I live down here, and I have raising my two daughters, and we live with my husband, and I do event and wedding planning.
Very nice.
Welcome.
And, equality is really important to me. And Michelle Bushnell asked me if I'd be interested in joining, and so here I am.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Anybody like to give a call? Yep, Bird, Lochte.
I'd just like to say welcome, and we're so glad to have someone from Southern Humboldt representing your area now. We haven't had
you.
anyone for a while, so congratulations and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Capri, you have your hand up?
No, she never took it down, I
Oh,
don't
she
think.
never took it down. Okay, no problems. Larry, anybody else like to say something until we move on?
I'm very impressed with the statements and the articulation of the other commissioners, and I'm certainly appreciate the mayor for taking the time to speak with us. It's a very difficult subject, and this day and age with lawyers and litigation, it's hard to get them resolved. And again, I think I'm impressed with everybody in their statements.
Well, I want to thank you guys for having me, and I appreciate the education on the correct verbiage, and I promise you that won't happen again. There's no ill intent from that in any way, and I apologize sincerely about that. It wasn't, it's been a tough situation for me too, and I apologize.
I see that we have a person by Tuck Engelman has joined. Are there any comments you'd like to make before we move on?
Mary Ann has joined too.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm very happy. Maybe we will go back to our finances if there's anything else we need to do. All right. Mr. Tuck Engelman, I don't hear anything from you, so I'm assuming there's nothing you'd like to say. Mr.
And I just
Secretary-
wanted to say really quickly, welcome, Dotso. Thank you so
Yes.
much for joining this group.
Thank you.
And like several people said, we're particularly very happy that we have representation from Southern Humboldt. I think this is one of the great things, that having this technology makes this so much more possible. And
Yeah.
we'll do more of this. So thank you very much. And feel free to ask us if you have any questions. I know we sent you some information, some folders. And if you have any issues connecting or anything like that, talk to Mr. Haney, who is very, very much smarter than I am. And I'd also
Okay.
be more than happy to help. So I think between the
Okay.
two of you, and then we have some veterans like Mr. Glover and Ms. Lochte, that if there's anything, if you want to know about actually how things work, they can also help you. Am I misspeaking for Mr. Glover and Ms. Lochte? No, okay.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I was unable to open any of those files.
Oh,
Yes,
Okay.
I was going to
Yeah,
say, Eddie, the
sometimes-
only thing we need you to do is give Dotso access, and then we'll be off and running, because I
All right,
can't do
will-
that, only you.
okay. I will fix it so you can do that, give people access to people. And I will do that. I was pretty sure I did do that, but I will do that again, so that
Okay.
Dawson has access to
Okay.
those files. And
That'd be wonderful.
And Mr. Secretary, and if this doesn't get done in the next 2 days, you need to call me and ask me why it doesn't happen. So I'll
Oh,
get
we'll
it
make
done.
it happen. Thank you, Eddie.
There you go. Well, all right. Mary, we talked a little bit about the budget and the finance. Mr. Glover talked, and I'm jumping around a little bit on the agenda, so hopefully I'm not upsetting the secretary too much. But is there anything you'd like to report on our finances or anything like that that we need to know?
Same balance, $756.40. Otherwise, no, not much. I mean, we're kind of in
Okay.
a holding pattern for the bank and everything, which is good. We whatever, everything's fine.
And I
And
I
I
think, yes,
apologize, I had to teach late. I'm really doing a lot with students through the last 6 weeks of school. Now 5 weeks of school, so I apologize. 5 o'clock
Mr.
ends up
Glover.
being a little.
Obviously, the number that you were just given for the balance is different than what I reported earlier, so I don't know which one is correct. I'm just reading from the March statement.
I'll take Mary's word for it, Jim, if that's all right. And if we got to change it, we can change it.
Fair enough. Yeah, so I don't think we have that much of a budget. We mostly spend most of our things on Zoom and things of that nature. So
Let me back up. and I'm only going from the checkbook. I didn't look at the statement, so I'd rather defer to Jim for the balance.
Take your pick.
Okay,
Well, no,
let's,
Jim, yours is a newer it's a newer balance and it's
all
something
right, let's,
different on it. It probably reflects taking money out with a debit card that I didn't include in the checkbook. So Jim's balance is correct.
all right, let's get this squared away. Mr. Secretary, if you double check, I appreciate it. I think let's not talk too much about it. All right, Treasury report, we opened it to the public. And do we have any commissioners' communications? Anybody
Well,
want to bring anything up? Yes.
Eddie, did we open it to the public?
No,
Oh, well, I'm opening it to the public right now. I thought I did. Because I don't see anybody in the public except for Carpin.
Carpani.
Sorry for mispronouncing your name. Carpani, thank you. I should not have pronounced that. Carpani. Ms. Carpani, is there anything you'd like to say? No. Okay, it's open to the public. Going once, going twice. I am not seeing anything on our Facebook. No. All right, yes, so I will move forward.
Eddie.
Yes, sir. Oh.
Guy has his hand in the air.
Sorry, Guy, go ahead.
I just wondered, are we holding Mr. Slattery for any particular reason?
Now, if he wishes to leave, unless he wants to see the excitement that we do over here, I cannot understand why anybody would want to leave, but if you'd like to leave, you would be more welcome to do so.
Well, I get the pleasure of talking about affordable housing in Old Town. So I have a meeting I should probably prepare for at 6 o'clock. So I really appreciate you guys having me. And once again, I apologize for the bad choice of words, but I can tell you we're sincere about this and I'm sincere about it. And I'll make sure that we get to the bottom of this and we will be back. I will come back to these meetings as much as I possibly can, and we'll make sure that we continue to develop the relationships we need to. So I appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Guy, thank you for catching me on that one. All right.
I just didn't want to be rude.
No, you're 100%. That's so now we're on agenda number 8, Commissioner Communications. Mr. Secretary, I know you get into that and the emails and anything else that we have.
I don't have anything to report on my side as a commissioner. Or
Okay.
yeah.
There was one communication, but that's going to fall under a different section. Yes, Larry.
Bird referred a lady to me by the from the Humboldt County Democratic Central Committee. Apparently, they are working on a citizens review board of law enforcement, and I'm pretty sure I haven't been in contact recently, but they were requesting information that the we had done in the past. We did attempt to create a citizens review board of law enforcement in the 96, 97, and also again in approximately 2005. I sent her some of the material that I had retained in my files concerning a citizens review board, and it sounds like they are moving forward with it. They're not quite sure, at least at the point that I understand, whether it's going to be a referendum or as opposed to a proclamation of the board. But it they're attempting to get it to the public to vote on a citizens review board of law enforcement. So I wanted to throw that out. Okay, that's it.
Yes, Ms. Lochte, Commissioner Lochte.
I wanted to say this under Commissioner Communications before Carpani left, but I just wanted to mention how important it is for someone like Carpani and David to point out when some language is difficult for them for a reaction, because it's the education that will make it so next time, David, you do not have to react and stop listening. It's when we stop listening to one another that we lose our communication. And we really need to be sure that through our reactions, we do educate other people about how we can have better communication for everyone. So thank you.
Well said, well said. Okay.
Thank you, Bird.
Any other comments from the?
Just one more quick one, Eddie.
Yes.
You know, I think that statement by the mayor it's kind of a perfect example of this systemic racism. And that when you think about it, you know, deal with implies an agenda, a specific way of handling a problem, as opposed to address, you know, allows for like a two-way communication before any kind of action or decision is made. And I think it's a really subtle difference that I'm glad the mayor was made aware of.
He's the city manager, Larry.
Or a city manager, excuse me. Yeah.
But your point is right.
Thank you, Larry. I agree. And, you know, it can be hard sometimes interrupting situations, but that work, like I agree with you and Bird, that work is crucial to growth. You know, we have to have the interrupters in the community, like myself and others, that, you know, they don't stand by when they hear those types of things. So thank you. I'm sad to see Carpani left. Thanks to Carpani.
No, I think if we don't have that presence, you can't change things. If you don't have boots on the ground, you cannot make that change. So thank you, all of you, for that excellent conversation. Any other comments? And I'm not trying to hurry anybody. I'm not trying to be rude or anything. Any other comments? Should I jump to the message line report, which is our next agenda item? Anything like that? Okay. And so there is one thing I'd like to talk about really quick. And
Eddie, real quick, shouldn't
Yes,
we be
sir.
on emails, regular mail, phone calls? Or did
okay,
we-
I thought we went over that, but I'm willing to go back. I have no problem to go back.
No, it kind of gets, to me, it kind of gets superfluous. I have a hard time distinguishing between commissioner communications and email, regular mail, and phone calls. But I thought Bird had just said that, you know, she wanted to include what she said during commissioner communications. So in the flow, I was like, okay, we were still in commissioner communications. Now we'd move to emails, regular mail, phone calls. But if there's none, I'm not going to hold the process up too.
No, the way I understood is that Bird Lochte was with communication, and then we jumped to the next subject, and Larry was talking about the phone call that he had.
Thank you for correcting me. You're exactly right. Thank you.
I don't know about
correcting me,
correct.
Larry.
That's where my mind was. That's how I was seeing it. But with that said, I will jump to message line report right now, if that's okay with everybody. And let me see if I can share the screen there. You guys see the screen there? Can you guys see the screen? Yes?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So one thing that we had in place some time ago was a system to make sure. So Ro, right now you're the person that's answering the phone call. And I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that, but like right here, we have that the last time that we checked was on the 24th. And so the way the system is supposed to work, and I think David actually, he sent the email saying, hey, next person is up there, right? And then the next thing that's supposed to happen is, and I'm not trying to put you, Larry, under the spot here or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure you have the shortcut to this. If not, I can send it to you again. And when you make the phone call, you just click on this guy right here, the link to intake form. And Datso, if I'm mispronouncing your name, forgive me, but I think this is good training for you too, because at some point you'll be asked to do this. And this is basically checking our phone message. And we click on this guy right here. And if there is no, we just put our name in. And if there's no,
Eddie, we should take that off the screen because you got the pin on the screen.
Oh, yes, we should. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So nobody saw that. But we can click on that. and that will bring us to our next spot. So have there been any calls on our phone line right now, Aaron, or that we know of?
Okay, I have a question. So how is that, the last frame you showed us was, it said the last time someone called in was the 24th?
Yes.
To better explain that, that's actually an interesting, we've kind of changed things in the last couple months based on how that dashboard works versus how we're actually using it. What that date of 4/24 reflects is the last time there was a case entered into the line, into the record from a commissioner. That was a call that I received. The way we've been doing it, and this is what I understood from either the couple months ago, and I think it was Bird that had was talking about this. If there's no messages, you don't need to put an entry in that dashboard. Like, we don't need to put an entry in that dashboard every single day. You only need to put a message in that dashboard if there's a message on that date. And that's the last time that there was a message. Because if that's accurate, then I want to assume that Aaron has not gotten any calls this month yet.
Correct.
Okay. Because, that's, I'm happy you bring this up, because I thought that we were going to put that in there, so that way we can have a feel of if we're checking the phone, if that's working. Larry, I'm sorry.
Well,
Larry?
a couple of things. I don't have a smartphone, so I have to deal with it. The responses to the phone calls from a computer, which is not really a problem. Although I think Bird brought this up the last time as well, is that, I see no reason, if there is no phone calls, to say, I didn't get any phone call. The real key to monitoring the phones is this continuity of the follow-up, where the person responsible is made aware that they're on, and if there's no Aaron's situation, if there's no calls, there's absolutely no reason to be there. Let's back up, because I was on from the 1st of April to the 15th. And of the calls that I had, there were only 3 basic calls. Only one of them got entered. The others I thought I entered and pushed submit. And I'm looking at the screen now, and it does not appear that they were entered. So I'm not sure, again, if I'm not using the right process or not. But anyway, I certainly can talk about them tonight during this tour.
Because I think the other side of the picture is I will get a call from the not detention center, but from the rehabilitation, and they'll tell me that somebody did call, and not see that. And so that's the other side of the coin, where when Officer Sarah calls and says somebody has called and they haven't gotten a response or something like that. So maybe we need to revisit this and try to make it better. Yes, Bert.
It seems to me that if you get a call, you should report that, even if you can't call them back because you don't get an answer. But if there is no call for the day, I don't think we should have to go back in and say no. I mean,
I agree.
So only if there is a call, even if it's something you don't have to deal with much, even if it's somebody just calling and saying they're from San Francisco and I don't know what, but you need to put it in so that it is answered somehow.
Okay, we'll change the word. Go ahead, Mary.
I agree with Bird, because on the backside, when we try to look at a spreadsheet, we really want to just be looking at the phone calls and not a bunch of no calls today, no calls today, no calls today, and a phone call in the middle. It would just be it would make somebody would eventually have to go in and take all of those no-call days out. So it's just better not to do it in the first place, my opinion.
I agree with Bird and Mary.
Okay.
You know,
All right. I think the group has spoken. We will change the wording on that and let it reflect in the minutes that we're just going to put when somebody actually calls, and we'll make it so.
Eddie?
Yes, sir.
Can you send me another link? Because I don't know what happened to those two other reports, but they were in fact submitted, and there was there were some phone calls when I picked up on the 1st of April that there were some saved messages that were on there for a month. And it did not appear that whoever was on there before had reported them into our journal. So anyway, I'm just hoping that there is not a problem with that process, that things kind of just disappear. Anyway, if you would, I appreciate it. I'm going to be on again in a month or so, and I certainly want to make sure I do it right.
All right, Mr. Glover, and then Mary.
following up on what Larry just said, I was going to bring this up in a couple of minutes, but there is still a saved message on the message line. I'm a snoopy person, so I check it once in a while, even if it's not my turn. And there is a call from the jail. I don't know if it has been dealt with. If I was the inmate, I would be concerned that we haven't dealt with it.
Eddie should have an update there. I believe that was closed, and that was my fault if the message was not deleted. Eddie did follow up with me in the last few days, I think it was, to let me know that that issue was closed. So I will go on the voicemail and delete that message. And thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Mary?
What I do when I'm doing messages is I will input the message, and then I literally look to make sure it went all the way through, Larry. So I check the log. I'm like, okay, that's on there. And then I delete it so that I'm not losing the message altogether. I'll even save it and then go back. If I have a couple, I'll save. And then once I notice that it is actually on the spreadsheet, then I go back and delete them. Just maybe it's a teacher or me, because so many things can get lost. So that's kind of my strategy, Larry, if that might work for you.
Commissioner Larson, I see you have your hand up.
Thank you. I'd like to echo Larry's request to send the link to the message dashboard line.
We'll make sure that happens. And what I'm also hearing is that people want feedback once they've entered their information. And I think there's something we can do in order to get that immediate feedback of this is what you've entered, kind of a deal. And that way people feel more confident that things are not disappearing.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We may want to kind of keep an eye on that, Eddie. If you recall, I think the situation that happened with Larry's was I got in there to enter in my first message during my 2 weeks, and I noticed that the dashboard had a glitch in it. Mm-hmm. And basically I could kind of explain it, but it was just offset. The dashboard was offset against the data. And so I'm going to go in there, Larry, and take a look to see if we can make sure that data still exists, because if you type that data in there, we definitely don't want to lose it. So, but yeah, we do need to keep an eye. If the dashboard is going to be that glitchy, we want to kind of keep an eye to make sure the entries are going in smoothly.
Yeah, because Larry, I'm pretty sure your information's in there. I've seen it. It's a little, it's not lined up with all the other stuff, and I think you might have just entered there the wrong way. But it's about making the system simple, so we will fix that. And David, if you'd help me with that, I'd appreciate that.
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Mary, you still have your hand up? Is that a fake hand or a real hand?
No, I don't have my hand up. I
really
appreciate
Mary.
that.
He said Mary.
Oh, Mary.
Yeah, I didn't put it down. I thought, do I put my own hand down? I guess I do. There you go. All right.
There we go. Okay.
Sorry.
Did we get all of Larry's info on all of Larry's 3 calls?
think so. Yeah, I'm not confident on that. Mr. Glover, you have your hand up?
Yeah, we've heard a lot of discussion about the dashboard and everything else, but I don't think we've had any reports on actual calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest, that I report, and I'm hoping we still do that, at our meetings. The calls are, actually, we talk about them. So it's a really good learning process for new members that haven't dealt with some of the issues that come up on the phone. For example, actually there was only one of my three folks was required any kind of input, but it was a gentleman who was essentially alleging gender bias against the district attorney, that he was feeling that she was biased against males in her decisions. I talked with him and told him that we were part of the county, and that if he wanted to come to one of our meetings and speak to the whole commission, then he was more than welcome to. But we didn't deal with individuals' allegations like that, but they would be duly noted. The other two phone calls, one, I'm sure most of the commissioners that have dealt with the phones are aware, there are some folks that call over and over again. And essentially both of those were like that. One of them was, I think, by a lady that comes to the commission meetings occasionally, and she was concerned about the state. She had an issue, an appearance that was in a state court, and it was going to be a Zoom kind of a situation, and she didn't have access to Zoom, the Zoom a computer or something, so she could Zoom it. And she was concerned that they weren't going to they were going to decide against her because she she didn't show up. She had made some phone calls to them expressing her her situation, and I told her my comment was that those document your sincere attempt to deal with the issue, and that they should be making some adjustments. I have not. She did not call back during the rest of my tenure on the phone, so hopefully it was addressed. But other than that, that's all I had, really.
Good.
And again, I think David picked up on the 15th. So
That's correct. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate it. I only actually took 2 calls. The first call was from a BIPOC woman in this community who was complaining that her and her daughter's human rights have been violated for quite some time, related to being formerly married to a man of influence in this area, and said that once she was no longer with him, influences of people in power and places of influence worked against her to create a bad situation for her. And she gave this really helpful information about a national family court watchers project, which is people that go into courts, most typically family law courts, to just basically observe what's happening. And a lot of the times it can stop off issues of discrimination just when people have a few extra sets of eyes looking at what's happening in the courtroom. I just want to personally say that it's really hard to hear situations and stories like that, because she's not the first person that I've heard have that similar experience in this community. Once people with power and influence work against you, it becomes very hard as a person of color to even just survive at that point. So I want to thank her for calling and the information that she gave to me.
About the other call.
The second call was from a person in the correctional facility who called and wanted to set up a meeting with the Human Rights Commission. As soon as I got that message, I went in and let Eddie know, so that way Eddie could address it on the correctional facility liaison side. And I would, of course, have to defer to Eddie. I don't want to speak for Eddie on what happened.
So when I got the information, I went ahead and called and gave the officer the information I had, and she told me that that person was not there. I spelled it out, and then I went ahead and I communicated back with the number that she had given me, and used that number, and it was stated to me that that person was no longer there. So that's the situation, and that's kind of why. And maybe I'm being a little too sensitive. I want to know when the phone calls are happening, and it's clear. I'm not saying with you, but so that's the information that I have, that the person is no longer there at this time.
I think that's what happens quite a bit, is just because of the length of time it takes to get movement. People are potentially only in the facility for so long, and so to have a quick response team, that would be harder on the county to facilitate.
That would be over our bandwidth, I believe.
Those were my two calls.
Aaron, thank you, sir.
I just want to remind commissioners that when you're calling people back after these calls, if you don't want them to know your home phone number, you dial *67 first.
And that's on the form.
Oh, fantastic. Right where it should be.
All right. Any other comments on the Larry, thank you very much for making the comment that we should talk about these cases and just not talk about the systems and the technicalities, but actually talk about the cases. I think that was a very good point. So thank you, sir. Anybody else want to say anything about this topic until we move on? Except we want to find somebody for September 1st to the 15th and September 16th to the 30th. Mr. Glover, what am I doing wrong here? I got that face.
There's a blank there because we didn't fill the blank in for the agenda. Lyons has volunteered for the first part of September, and Aronoff, I think he was either volunteered or somebody volunteered him to do the second half of September. So if you're looking for volunteers, you need them for October.
Okay. Mr. Haney, you're muted.
Are we sure about that, Jim? Because for the minutes, I've got Mary listed for the beginning of July.
Yes.
I've got myself end of July. I've got Mary beginning of August, and I've got Guy end of August. Does that match what you're seeing, Jim?
In the typed part, yes, but there were the blanks. The blanks actually were filled in from the last meeting. Only
For
we didn't fill it
September.
in. We didn't fill it in on this form. That's why it's in yellow.
Oh, gotcha. So Mary's doing beginning of September then.
Unless she's
That would be
changed her
that
mind.
would be a no. I'm starting, that's my first week of teaching. I'm doing the beginning of August. Yeah, I can't do the beginning of September. I start teaching the 30th.
Mr. Glover has his hand up.
I'll volunteer for the 1st of September.
I could do the second one,
Glover,
16th or 30th.
Lyons. I've got that in the notes, folks.
All right, great.
September is covered. Thank you both.
So basically, yeah, okay.
And I don't think that we need to do October. Do we go that far ahead?
No, I think we're good.
That's a bit far.
Yeah.
We're farther ahead than normal, actually.
And I really like how the secretary, David, how you have it where we have the last 2 months there, so we know who did it. That's really good. Cool. With that said, okay, I am going to go to the next topic, which is correctional facilities and liaison report. We got Larry. What can we do?
I'm sorry. Let me just wanted to add in as I know that you were some kind of a program that was supposed to notify us, but I find it real helpful to, to email the next person in line to, make sure that they remember, that they're on. So, I think that's really a good protocol to follow, as well as, any kind of computer generated process.
And I know David does that. I saw that. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it's a quick email to drop to one of the commissioners to pass the baton. And thanks to Aaron for picking up the baton.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other topics before we go to the next topic? All right, correctional facility. I think what I'd like to bring up is that now that the status of the pandemic, vaccination rates, I can see the correctional facility opening up more. So that means maybe we'll have more in person. So I'll be looking for volunteers to be able to go into the facility. Mary, you still interested in being one of those person? Guy, would you be interested in something like that? I know I volunteered for you for a couple of things, and you could come with us. David, hey, do you have any ideas of people that may want to come? Maybe
Jill limited us to 2.
I think it'd be a hardship for Datso because she lives down in Garberville, or in the southern Humboldt, excuse me. Carol Larson, what's your thoughts? Would you be interested in?
Aren't we limited to 2 by the jail itself? They limited us to 2.
Yeah, well, yeah, yes, Mr. Glover.
Well, I was just going to echo what Mary was saying. They set a limit of 2 for us. So don't get too many volunteers, because I don't think they're going to allow us to do that.
Well, you're right.
1 female and 1 male.
But I mean, 2 to go to the place, but we want people to be kind of trained up and used to doing it so we can move things around. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, I'll be willing to do this to the end of my days, but at some point we will want to have some people trained and comfortable doing that. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yes, Larry.
I'm wondering, do they have any kind of a requirement for, proof of vaccination, or would it be wise to make sure that, commissioners that do volunteer have been vaccinated? What's everybody's feelings about that?
They haven't gone to that yet, but what we would like to do, and Mr. Glover, help me out there, there's some paperwork that you have to fill out with your information, and I'll send that to Guy, and then and to Carolyn, if she's interested. Carolyn Larson, if she's interested. Carolyn, you raised your hand, I see.
Yes, as Carol,
Carol.
just like the Christmas Carol. Yes, I'm interested.
Okay, good. We'll send you the paperwork. And like I said, Mr. Glover is 100% right. You can't go more than 2 people, but to only have 2 people trained, I think is bad for us. And that's the end of my report. All right. Any discussion? All right. Standing committees. Human Trafficking Fund. I know Lochte has some report on that.
Yes, the committee of Eddie and Lisa and I, after trying to meet by Zoom, we did it by email. And I would like to move the adoption of the following statement. The Humboldt County Human Rights Commission approves the recommendation of the Human Trafficking Committee to grant $3,116 to Catholic Charities of the Diocese of Santa Rosa to provide immigration legal services to 2 Humboldt County undocumented victims of human trafficking and their families. And I would ask, is there someone who will second that motion?
I'll second it.
And then I would like to give you a little of the rationale for this. We do have over $4,000 still in the account, and perhaps some more because of the one that didn't actually happen. But they have not been able to tell me that that money is there yet. However, I don't think that we should give Catholic Charities all the money that we have. I would like to give them enough to do this with 2 people to see how it works, because they are working not just in Humboldt County, but in all the counties up and down their Santa Rosa diocese. I also believe that this is something that we have not seen in the applications for the human trafficking. This is for, there's a program for people who they're undocumented, but they have been victims of human trafficking as part of that undocumentation. And they also are collaborating with a number of groups in Humboldt County: Paso a Paso Program, North Coast Children's Center, Community Wellness Center, True North Organizing Network, St. Joseph's Health, Humboldt State University, College of the Redwoods, Humboldt Area Foundation, and other groups. And that's one of the things that we've said, we want to see collaboration with these programs that we are funding. So, and we do have enough money to do this for 2 people. That'll be the 3,000 some odd dollars. And this would give them a start to see if they are able to identify any people in Humboldt County and then be able to help them. So I'll try to answer questions if people have them.
Mr. Glover, you had your hand up first, and then Mary, and then Larry. Mr. Glover.
Just wanted to double check. The money that is distributed will go, obviously the Diocese of Santa Rosa covers a large area. We have assurance that the money will go only to people within Humboldt County?
Yes, that's the way the grant was written, and that's what this recommendation says: to provide immigration legal services to 2 Humboldt County undocumented victims.
Okay.
How are they
That
going
answered my question.
how are they going to know they're from Humboldt if they're in Santa Rosa?
They're coming here.
Okay.
And they are collaborating with all of these groups.
Did they start out here?
I'm sorry?
Did these 2 people start out here and then go to Santa Rosa and they're coming back?
No, the people from Santa Rosa, the legal team, will come here or work with groups here to identify someone here.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
one of the other things that is a plus for possibly this working is that it is through the Catholic Church, and many of the people in the Spanish-speaking community are part of that church, and they trust the church. So it's possible that there will be able to be collaboration that will help them identify any victims if there are any.
Larry has his hand up.
Yeah, I'll just clarify a little bit, Bert. The money is going to be used to fund the salaries or the cost of the legal individuals, or you talked about identifying 2 individuals.
Yes.
What kind of fund, what kind of services would they be provided through this?
Okay, the money, the $3,116 is divided in 2, $1,558 per person. And of that, $628 goes to the legal services for that one person. And then, so there's 2 of them. And the $930 is, let me give you this. It is the filing fee for this program that gives the undocumented person the opportunity to stay here. It's the legal getting them here. And that is the fee that has to be paid. All of the other services are being absorbed by the diocese. These are the things they asked us for. And that's why I'm recommending this. Now, they may not say they want to do it that way. I don't know. But this is what I'm recommending, that we give them as a way of starting this to see if it has any value, if it's going to work here, if they're able to identify anybody here.
Aaron,
Do you know whether our legal services of Northern California provides those services?
As far as I know from the people that I've talked to in Latino Net and Paso a Paso, these particular services are not being provided.
Gotcha.
Bert, I have a question. So how are we going to do once this is done, after 6 or a year from now, how are we going to look back at this and see what success means, or how are we going to review? Are we going to review it? Have you put any thought into that?
We already have that in place with this, the committee, which is a standing committee, has or did have specific timeline of reporting back.
Okay.
And we'll put that in. What this does tonight, if it's approved, then this recommendation will go to the Board of Supervisors to approve. And then it will go to Humboldt Area Foundation, and the money will be distributed with all of the timeline and the requirements of getting that money and reporting back about that money. But what I'm asking you to do right now is just approve this so that it can go to the Board of Supervisors for their approval. They have to give the final approval.
I think you froze, Bird. But is there a motion on the table then?
Yes, there is.
I started this with my motion.
And right now we're having a discussion, which I think we're following procedure, so we're doing okay.
Yep, exactly.
I have a stupid question, so forgive me.
No questions are stupid.
Yeah, I'll prove you wrong one of these days. So if I had to explain this in 30 seconds, what we're doing, what's the end result of this motion or of this effort, how would that look like?
Their expected outcome: Catholic Charities of Santa Rosa's emergency assistant for immigrant victims of human trafficking will provide emergency, protective, legal, and restorative services and improve the health and well-being of Humboldt County's undocumented victims of human trafficking.
Okay, so here's my second stupid question. So that protective service, we're talking about shelter and things like that? Is that what that is? Okay. That makes it more clear to me. All right, there's a motion on the table here. I think we've had a good discussion. I see a lot of blank faces here. Anybody want to second it, or where do we want to?
It's
Already
been
been
seconded.
second. Okay, if it's okay with everybody, I'll call for the vote. Could I see all the yays? Okay.
Don't we have to call the names out loud?
Yes, Mr. Secretary, can you please do that? Help me out here. And you're on mute. Mr. Secretary, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I am seeing yes votes from Commissioners Larson, Glover, Miller. It's a yes vote from Commissioner Haney. I'm seeing Commissioner Lochte. I'm seeing Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner Lyons. Aaron, I'm not seeing your hand, or did you already put it down?
Yeah, I put it down, but.
You're a yes. Thank you, Aaron.
Okay, good.
That was Commissioner Rowe and Commissioner Aronoff. Did I see a yes from you?
I haven't called a no vote. Okay.
Abstaining?
Abstaining.
Got it. And Commissioner Perkins.
Yes.
I see it.
Hand up.
So
I see a hand up.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Sorry about not noticing that. Okay. Any no's? And I have one abstention. Commissioner Aronoff. Motion passes.
Thank you, good sir. Mr. Glover, you have your hand up.
Sorry to be a nuisance, but I wish we could be more consistent in how we ask for a vote. You have options. You don't have to do a roll call, but we need to know when it's going to be a roll call and when it's just going to be a hands up or hands down vote.
The newest things that I've seen under the Brown Act, they're supposed to call and the person says aloud aye because not everybody can see our hands. So we have to say it out loud.
Fair enough, Mr. Glover. So Mr. Hayes, Secretary, could you please help me in the future? Let's always have a roll call with our hands up. With an aye or a nay, so let's do that. Thank you.
Have to say it out.
Wait, Mr. Glover.
Well, that's fine. We could do it any way you want. But the bylaws, which we're about to discuss, explain it differently.
Aha.
And they don't, that's not a reference to the Brown Act, it's a reference to our bylaws. So do whatever you want to do, but let's just be consistent about it.
Okay, and I think that's why I said let's do it that particular way, so we have that uniformity and consistency. And call me to the table, Mr. Secretary, if we stray from that. Okay.
I'm curious what the bylaws say for future reference. We don't have to discuss it now, but what do the bylaws say we should do?
What do you want? We're going to be talking about the bylaws.
Yeah,
in
let's
just a
get
few
there.
minutes.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's get there. Let's not. We're doing good on time right now. All right. I have nothing to report on the sanctuary ordinance. So if it's okay with everybody, we can go to our next ad hoc committee, which is racism and cultural awareness, and that would be Mr. Haney.
Thank you, Eddie. I appreciate it. Yes, actually, there was a meeting with the commissioners last week, and we discussed the proclamation to declare racism a public health crisis with some people in the community to get on the same page. And I'm just basically, what I was told. You told me this, Eddie. I'm supposed to make a report. That's kind of what we do at the commission. Is if there's things going on in the community, we make a report and let people know what's happening. And so I'm just here to report that meeting and that work is ongoing in this community. I encourage folks to check out the dashboard. I'm going to be putting that dashboard in the chat, and I will also put that dashboard on our Facebook as I've done before, so that way people in the local community can access the current working draft of that proclamation to declare racism a public health crisis. And it sounds to me what the group is now doing is looking at the local stakeholder groups to approach and forming a plan of who's going to be approaching those people. And so I'm really, thankful that this community is engaging in that work because it's very necessary. This community does need to have a framework in place that helps BIPOC people have better outcomes. It's very necessary, I believe. And so thanks again to those people. But that's basically the report that I have for the Racism Committee.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion you'd like to talk or any questions about the report? I see nothing. Okay, thank you for the great report. Good report. Larry.
Yeah, David, do you have any idea when they're going to be submitting this to the commission, the full commission for our input?
It feels to me like there's the work ahead is approaching the local groups. I can't say in specific how long that may take, but with now the community having an actual working draft to take to groups, that's a bit of a starting point for the process. So I think that if the community can approach the right groups in the next, say, 8 weeks and ensure that the stakeholders in this community have their voices heard and are a part of this process, I think this could come back to the commission in 2 months, as soon as.
Great.
Any other questions? Mr. Glover, any questions? No? All right. I will go to the next item. Thank you very much, sir, for an excellent report. Digital accessibility. I think the big item that we want to talk about digital accessibility, and I want to give great credit to Commissioner Dotso to being here, which kind of proves our point of that if we did put everything on Zoom or things of this nature, we'd have participation from Humboldt County. It took a while, but we actually have it going on. But at the end of the pandemic, the Brown Act is going to be changing maybe, and see if we can continue doing things that we're doing right now, having these meetings online. And had conversations with several other actors in the state of California. And it looks like there are going to be some motions put to the state to be able to continue this. So further to report later on. With that, if there's any questions, we can move on to our next item. Any questions? Going once? Commissioner Arnold, does your cat have any questions? Nope, no question. Okay. All right. So the next item is homelessness, excuse me, committee. And the road, did we close that committee or what's going on with that?
As I recall, we were going to be waiting for the wave.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so the status is that, we were putting together two documents, and David put the first one together beautifully. It's a grid. And so, and then he probably also did the doodle poll, but I couldn't open that one either. And so it wasn't a problem with the documents. David took care of those. It was, I just couldn't round up the cats, as it were.
And the cats being the people not coming to the meetings, which is very important.
And not so much that, I mean, worse than that, it's like no one was available on the same hour of the week. Everyone had 1 hour of the week that they were available, and that just didn't coincide. And I even have another friend who wants to volunteer for the committee. And it's just, that part I couldn't do. But your documents are in place. And so whenever the wave comes, we can just jump right on those. Work's been done. Thank you, David.
And when we say the wave, we're talking about people having time and resources to come to the meetings. Is that what we're saying?
I think so.
Yes, I think so too. It just, that's
the term. I liked it.
Yes. It just, sometimes I come up with some acronym or things and just want to make sure the rest of the world understands me.
Yeah.
If I may, I wanted to make a suggestion. Now that we've got, I wanted to give a heads up that Scott Davies has been in communication and he should be returning. He had taken a bit of a leave from the commission, and so he should be returning. We have a new commissioner, Commissioner Perkins. I want to see if we could get more people in that committee, so that way we have a higher chance of getting quorum when meetings are called. As of right now, there's 3 people on the committee, and so having a 4th person would just increase the chances of us getting quorum, I think.
Mr. Glover, this is usually when you jump in and tell us about the rules and things like that, because I'm all for the number 4. I think it makes it easier to have 4 people. But is there some challenges to that?
I got nothing.
Mr. Okay, you got nothing. Oh, Bird Lochte.
Talking about a quorum, if you have a committee of 3, a quorum is 2. If you have a committee of 4, a quorum is 3.
Oh, so maybe 2, maybe 3 is better.
Well, if you're doing it only for the ease of getting people together, yes, I guess so. But I think 4 people to do the work might be better. And I do think that sometimes we maybe need to just say we're going to get together and do this through email, because that's what we finally did with the grant thing, and we were able to do that. We can't always do that, but I think sometimes you can, and maybe we need to be a little more active about doing it that way.
Commissioner Arnoff, I know you've worked in a lot of different institutions and things like that. Do you see there being any challenges or any thoughts about having a commission of 2? Is that good or bad, or what's your feelings about that?
Size, but I don't think it would make any difference.
Okay. So back to the topic of the homeless committee and waiting for the wave. We had a recommendation from Commissioner Lochte that we do it through email. And then the other thing on the table is that maybe we should just wait until people have time. Aaron, what are your thoughts on how you like to bring this forward?
Well, the documents are all in your hand, so I don't know what you want to do with them or what role you want me to play. How would others like to proceed? The idea was trying to get this meeting together. We can just send it out and hope for the best. See if we get any answers.
If what Bird was saying was earlier is correct, where if right now the committee's 3 people and having 2's a quorum, I think, Aaron, that you and I can push the work out and have a meeting sometime soon with the stakeholders. I think we can get it rolling. I think it's better if we have more people to help support, especially the meeting when you're bringing stakeholders in. But I think we can manage it, especially considering it would most likely be electronic, I want to bet. So I mean, we can definitely facilitate it and have the meeting, and you and I both make it happen. That's
Okay.
I'm willing to make that happen. So
Well, fantastic. I'm obviously technologically really challenged because I'm old. That's the bad side. The good side.
That's not the right thing to say, ma'am.
Vaccinated. Yeah, so I would be happy to facilitate the meeting. That is something that I am able to do. If you and Eddie want to figure out how to get the logistics together, that works for me, and let me know how I can help. That's obviously not my strong suit.
I think we're almost there, Aaron. I think the next step, we'll have Eddie send out a letter to the stakeholders that are on our list and get them on a doodle poll and see when we can schedule it, and then schedule it and have that meeting.
Sounds great. And I think we had decided on what's the last 2 weeks of July or something. We were going to aim for that.
That rings a bell. That's what I'll shoot for. That's what I'll shoot for in the doodle poll.
Okay.
Okay.
And
All right.
Commissioner Aronoff also aren't you on the committee?
Correct. And I'm just noting on your form here, it says we have an ending date of July 7th. So do we need to shift that?
Oh, good eye. Good eye. Let's extend it till the end of July.
I second that.
Okay, I think we've come to some conclusions, but just to help me out here to clear things up, we talked about the 2 different documents that are there. We talked about the deadline that is there, and our immediate objective is to send those documents for review by the stakeholders. Is that our immediate objective? Is that what we're trying to do? And is that what we'll be talking in our next meeting?
Well, one of them, we don't send both of them out. One of them is the contact sheets for the providers. That's for us. The one we send out is the doodle poll so that we can try to get a meeting between these people. So you would only be sending out one.
Okay. And
Also, if I could, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Eddie. I want to apologize if this was misunderstood at some point or somehow, but I thought there were only 3 people on the homelessness committee, which I thought it was Aaron as chair and then myself and Monique on that committee. I wasn't clear that Guy was on the committee, and so that may be a lack in my records here. So if that's correct, if Guy's on the committee, I will update the records right now, and then we do have 4 people on the committee if that's the case.
Does Mo want to stay on the committee?
I couldn't speak for her.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, let's talk about that on a different. But I do have a recollection that we were having attendance. We were waiting for the wave, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Commissioner Aronoff. And I asked you if you would be interested in helping out, and you said yes.
Yes.
And so that's where we are. So yes, we do need to update the record.
That's been done.
And I think that'd be really good, especially as a relatively newcomer, Commissioner Aronoff, that you kind of take a look and see if we're making any sense, if we're in the logic area. And no offense to anybody else, but I always make illogical things. I always like exterior eyes to be on my stuff.
Thanks, Eddie. Unless I'm wrong, I heard a motion on the table to extend this committee to the end of July 31st. Aaron made that motion and I seconded it. If that was the discussion, unless there wasn't discussion, we have discussion and then make a vote.
I think we should, do I see any discussion? I think we should proceed to do the vote. And let's see if we can be uniform here. And what's our process?
We're going to do a roll call unless I'm incorrect on that.
That is correct. And where we'll say yay and put our hand up.
Perfect.
All right, let's, Mr. Secretary, could you please start the roll call?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Glover.
Yes.
Commissioner Haney is a yes. Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Lochte.
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Commissioner Rowe.
Yes.
You made the motion.
Oh,
She can still vote.
Yes,
Oh,
you can
perfect.
still vote.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Then she's on the yes. Perfect.
yes.
Commissioner Aronoff.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Perkins.
This is to extend the date, is that correct?
That's correct.
Sorry, my service is a little bit spotty here. That's a yes from me.
Thank you. Ooh, that sounds like a cool ball game you're at.
It does.
I wish I was there. Hey, what commission? Oh, Commissioner Larson.
Yes.
Thank you, Carol. I don't have any no's or any abstains. That was 10 yeses. Motion passes. Thank you all.
Perfect. Well done. Thank you. All right. Now that we've closed that item, the next item we have is the bylaw and policy review. And Commissioner Lochte, I think you're in charge of that.
Yes, this was presented at the last meeting according to our bylaws, presented in writing. Anyone had a chance to work on it if they wanted to. I don't believe there were any more changes after Guy and I think Aaron put some changes in. So I would like to move the adoption of the amended bylaws as they appear in our, what's that document called? In the Google
Shared
Doc?
drive.
Shared drive, yeah.
Shared drive, in the shared drive. Yes, that's my motion.
Mr. Glover, you
I
have your hand up?
second the motion.
We have a second. Let's open it up to discussion. Is there any discussion that we'd like to, Commissioner Lochte?
I would just like to remind everyone that mostly this was typos and little things. There was one thing that we discussed and changed, and that is section 4 about meetings under Brown Act. And we changed it to say standing committees shall conduct business with proper notifications and otherwise adhere to all relevant aspects of the Brown Act. And we put in relevant because it might be standing committees or ad hoc committees. So instead of just saying shall be subject to the Brown Act, that's the only big change that was made other than some wording and typos and things.
Yes, Mr. Glover.
My only comment would be to address Mary's question about the voting. As chair, you have the right, the authority to call for a vote in any manner that you wish. So it may not be that we really have to change the bylaws. It just gives you more than one option of a way to carry out that vote.
We have two hands, and I think Mary beat the draw there. Mary?
The only reason, my understanding is that the only reason that it's changed from raising hands to saying aye is because of the virtual format. And because of the virtual format, there are people listening who can't see us. There are people here who we can't see. And it was a big discussion at the state level and all across everywhere about the Brown Act and how to modify that due to being on Zoom. So they don't know who we are. If if David just says 7 ayes, we don't, the people listening in, so that's the reason that they say now that we're supposed to do a roll call, that's all.
Makes sense.
I don't care which way you do it, but that's what they, researching it for my other things that I'm involved with in the community, that's what.
Bird? Bird?
It's very clear in our bylaws. We don't have to change anything. The
Right.
vote on questions coming before the commission shall be by voice vote, hand vote, or by roll call, and the method to be used shall be announced by the chair prior to voting, unless a member requests a roll call vote. When passing measures, electing or removing officers of the commission, the vote shall be by roll call. Votes for each commissioner, yeas, nays, and abstentions will be entered into the meeting minutes. A simple majority is required. That's what we have in our bylaws. So we have everything covered, I think.
I think you make a good point, and I think and I intend to go along with what I was doing previously. And if the next chair wants to do it differently, but I think the thing covers everything. So I think we're in a good position. Any other more discussion we want to have on this topic? Mr. Glover, do you want to remind us what was, do we need to remind anybody what's the motion? I think the motion was that we'd accept the changes that we made. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Any further discussion? Larry, are you good? Yeah.
I'm good. Yes.
All right. Commissioner Perkins, are you good? Commissioner Larson, are
Yes.
you good?
Good.
All right. Let's go ahead and make a motion. Let's make a vote.
Start the
Mr.
vote.
Secretary?
All right. Commissioner Glover,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney is a yes. Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
I see Commissioner Perkins' hand up, so I'm writing that as a yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Lochte,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner Rowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Aronoff,
Yes.
Commissioner Larson.
Yes.
Thank you all. This is a unanimous yes. Motion passes.
May I ask that the secretary be sure that this is now the amended copy, and that it reflects today's date as the amendment, and that all commissioners get a copy of it or access to a copy of it somehow. And it might be helpful to send out an email saying, this is where you get the May 6th, 2021 bylaws.
Thank you, Bird. I will absolutely be doing that.
Thank you.
Mr. Glover?
Just to piggyback on that, since David's going to be working on that, there are a couple of places where there's some shaded text in the version that we just voted for. Those were intended to be deletions, and we just left them in. So the wording in red is what we just approved.
Got it. Thanks for that, Jim.
Thank you. Excellent, excellent. All right. If it's okay with the group here, I will move to our next item on our agenda, which is unfinished business. Let me remind everybody it's 6:53 right now. And is there any items from our unfinished item that we want to talk about?
I actually have a question. I'm wondering, we just made a pretty big expenditure. I'm wondering where our income comes from. What is this?
Question. Lochte, Commissioner Lochte.
That's from the grant money. That's not our treasury. That is in Humboldt Area Foundation in the Humboldt, the human trafficking grant.
Oh, we've already given them the money. Okay, gotcha.
Oh,
Thank you.
yes, no, we didn't give it to them. The Board of Supervisors did, which is why they have the final say on this. And I guess I should say, Chair, are you going to be presenting this to the Board of Supervisors for us?
I should be doing that. I think that's part of my responsibility. Is that correct, Mr. Glover? Yes, I'm getting a nod from Commissioner Lochte. So yes, I will be doing that. Yes.
Thank you.
And what will prompt me is once I get that from the secretary, I will call him and Glover, and I'll arrange the meeting with the supervisors and get that done. Yes, Mr. Glover.
Well, they'll probably handle it as a consent calendar item,
Okay, there you go.
which means you may not have to make much of a presentation, but except to be there to, if they ask for any discussion.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I can do that.
If they ask for anything and you would like my help, if it's a Zoom meeting, I can be there.
Good point. That's a good point. It's because I'm thinking of the old days where you actually have to go sit there and wait till your turn, and used to take for a long time. But for the sake of time, okay, that makes sense. So keep me on point there, Secretary and Mr. Glover. So all right.
Betcha.
Okay. We have unfinished business, and then we also have, which I think is really important, new business. If it's okay with the group, I really would like to talk about our new business and maybe leave old business for a different time. What we have on our old business is monitoring EPD texting issue, which we've done. Cannabis inquiry, which I don't have that much information. I could be totally wrong on that. Further consideration of website on human rights survey. This seems to me like stuff that we may want to revisit and look at later on for the sake of time, if that's okay. What I do think is important, and if I'm doing anything that somebody feels I'm being negligent or irresponsible, please tell me so, is the nominating of the human rights officers vote to be held in June meeting. I really would like to put that to topic. So yes, Aaron.
I just want on the cannabis subcommittee, I just want to, I just don't want to let it drop. And I want
Okay.
to clarify what our next step is, because I don't know what it is. I believe Lelania was asking to be a consultant. Do you know, Mary, what the options are? And you're muted.
I don't, Aaron. Before I came on, it's just kind of amorphous. Why don't you and I have a meeting and we'll come to some kind of consensus and call Elaine and ask, I don't even know.
I like that
knows as
idea.
much as I do. Yeah.
I think
I'll give you a call after this. I'll send you an email. Okay, Aaron?
We would have to have a meeting with the three of us because no offense, but I don't know anything.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. I'll try and include Elaine and we'll at least get some kind of, I didn't for the last two meetings I'm still, but we'll take up more time on that later.
And that's
after we know what
move on to the next item, if it's okay. And if like I said, if I'm doing anything rude or wrong, just give me the evil eye and I will change. Yes, David.
Eddie, I'm sorry if I was interrupting someone else that had
No,
just
no.
spoken up. I don't think you're doing anything wrong, but I do just want to at least say and speak really quickly. We should speak quickly if we're not going to just have time to discuss it right now. We should speak about the opening statement and land acknowledgement, because that has been in process for a long time.
That's a good point, sir. Good point, sir. Good point. And have we made any forward movement on that? Has anybody looked into that?
So from what I see, Carol was good enough to put some changes on there that I currently see that are unapproved. My other, the other last word that I had thought was that Lisa was going to take a look and put some input on there. And I think that's some of the last few pieces of the puzzle to getting this all squared away so we can get it approved and in place. Because I do think we need a land acknowledgement in place for this meeting. It's important.
Mr. Glover, you had your hand up a few seconds ago.
No, I just think we need to expedite getting this to a conclusion.
Okay.
I felt like, weren't we almost ready to put it up to a vote last time? Why did it get pulled from a vote last month?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
cold, it didn't get reported on.
I think it was because Lisa asked that it not be done and she wanted some more on it. Isn't that correct, Carol?
Yes.
She wanted to look at it one more time
Yes.
and she's just not here this month. So has she looked at it? Have we gotten any input from her?
I'm not seeing any edits, at least.
Okay.
So can one of us reach out to her and see about that?
I sure will.
Will it be reasonable to say that let's make sure that we put this item on the top part of our agenda so we don't run into Mr. Secretary, that we put this on the top part so that we don't run into the same issue next meeting around? And then we try to get that input from Lisa, because I'm pretty sure, I totally remember wanting to have her input on that. Yeah, no, this puts us in a bad, it makes us look bad, like we're trying to avoid this, and that's not what we want to do.
No, I mean, we want to have the right thing in place. And so we want to have the right input.
Exactly. We just don't want to do it. Yeah. We don't want to rush it. Let's do the right thing.
Thank you for letting me remind everybody of that.
No, thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. Okay. So can we talk about the nomination of officers to be for the vote June meeting? And Jim, do you want to give us a little background on how we go about doing these things?
Well, you can accept nominations from the commission right now. You can also self-nominate if you are interested in running for something. And the voting of whoever the candidates are would take place at the June meeting. It's pretty simple.
Okay, good. So we will have the vote on June. What I'm recommending is that
Can we also nominate by email too? Is that-
exactly, that's kind of,
Yeah.
I wanted to give people time to think about it. I know in certain places, people will talk about, this is what I'm recommending, is that everybody send who they would like to see nominated, or nominate themselves, or put them in front. And then we report that in our next meeting without, just who are the people that are interested in doing what. Does that sound like a reasonable way to go about this?
So
I'm getting a nod from. So like Mr. Glover, if you would like to be the chair, you would send an email to the secretary and say, hey, I'm interested in being the chair.
That was
And
my question. Who did we send the email to?
to the secretary. That's usually the way, that's what Ms. Lochte?
Someone needs to be sure that anyone who is nominated is willing to accept the role.
Yes.
So would that be you, Jim?
Huh?
If it's being sent to you, or I mean, David, would David be the one to do that, to reach out if a nomination comes to him? Would he reach out to the person and say, you've been nominated for secretary, are you willing to accept that role if you're elected?
Seems
maybe Aaron-
logical since he's going to be collecting the list.
Yeah, that's usually a secretary duty. Yes, Aaron?
I was thinking it might be easier if the person nominating someone would ask the person that they're nominating whether they're open to it.
That's a good point.
Efficient.
All right. That's even sounds too logical. That sounds very logical.
I like that. Thank you, Aaron. And thank you, Bird. So it's clear for me, I appreciate the help with this.
Okay. So if you're going to nominate somebody, so if we decide to nominate somebody, then we need to ask them, hey, are you interested?
And then I'm going to keep
Fair
a
enough.
tally.
Yes. And then when you report it, you don't say who, just these are the candidates and they all have accepted it. And then we'd move to the next place and where we'd vote. Mr. Glover, does that sound correct? And Bird, am I doing
Yep.
okay there?
Yep.
All right, good. And so then by June, we will be able to vote because we'll have 30 days to think about it. That's usually what we need to have.
And remember that the vote has to be a roll call vote for this.
Yes, we will put our hand up and say our vote.
And one more thing, just to be clear, we're voting on the 3 positions: chair, vice chair, and secretary. Is that correct?
And treasurer.
And treasurer. Thank you, Jim.
And a person can serve in the role for 4 years. I don't think there's anybody who's termed out right now. So you can nominate the same person again.
Thank you, Bird. I've got that in the notes too.
Okay. And just to bring this up, and I'm thinking of other, we actually took classes about this stuff when I was in the military. So we have the secretary doing all the nomination. Do we want somebody to double check? Usually it's the vice, but in our situation, that's a bad thing. So should we ask somebody from the group just to say, give a nod and say, yeah, we're good? That's usually how it's done. Mr. Glover, any thoughts?
I think that we're just overcomplicating the issue.
Fair enough. I'm good enough. There you go. As long as I said it and we feel comfortable with that, we'll move forward. Good. All right. So David, thank you for taking this responsibility over. I think we have dealt with, this was a lot easier than I thought. This makes me feel so much better. Sorry about that. Okay, our next item. So do we need to make a vote on this or anything? I don't think so. We are just going through procedure. All right, it's 7:04.
I think we're done, Eddie. We did the Civilian Law Enforcement Review Board earlier in the meeting, the
You know,
HDCC.
I totally agree with you. Unless we want to stay here and talk some more, I think we're good to go. Mr. Glover, you have your hand up?
I'm not anxious to talk a whole lot more, but we didn't do it for this agenda, but we talked about moving the monthly report from the EPD texting issue from unfinished business to an earlier reporting position in the agenda. And I think we need to make sure that we do that. That way, no matter if we have the chief back or we have the city manager back or somebody else, it's early enough in the agenda that they would want to stick around for it.
No, I think that's a good point because we kind of run out of steam and it's always, and even if you look at the people that are watching us on Facebook, sometimes certain issues we should have earlier than later. So I totally agree with that.
Can I ask for one? David, I know we keep putting all kinds of things on you, but I think this would just be one time you'd have to put it in. Would it be possible to put the names of the commissioners who are on the committees? We have the ending date. Could we also have the names, all the names, because then we wouldn't run into this problem of, oh my goodness, 3 or 4, who's on that committee? I think it would be very helpful to everyone.
Mr. Glover?
You could bold the chair and then in regular font, list the other members. I think that's a good idea.
I can absolutely make that happen. And thank you, Bird and Jim.
Thank you, David, because I know just adding one more little chore to you.
No, it's not that bad a one, and it helps things be clearer for everybody and make the meeting smoother. So it's a very small price to pay for a smoother meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. With that, thank you very much. Anybody have anything else before we close this meeting? Yes, Mr. Arno, Commissioner Arno, yes.
For future agenda, I don't know whether we're responsible for stuff like this, but there is a Senate Bill 364 dealing with school meals for everybody, all children. I wondered if that was something we could discuss perhaps at a later meeting, because that's going to be coming up for a vote fairly soon.
You know, that's a great point you bring up. And this is for all to the new commissioners too. If you want to put something on our agenda, send it to myself and the secretary. Just email them.
Okay.
And then we'll review that. So Commissioner Perkins, you heard that?
Okay.
And,
I did, yeah.
so just you probably have some stuff on your agenda. Send it to us. Yes, Aaron.
Okay.
Carol, I sent you a question in the chat. Can you take a look at it? Carol? Oh, she may not be there anymore.
Sorry,
Oh, there.
I'm looking.
Great.
Aaron, type message here.
All right.
The
Do you see
private.
the question?
I don't see the question.
It's
Aaron.
above. It's above type message here. It's above.
Oh, no,
above.
thank you.
What did you say?
No, thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you for
Thank you for
answering.
asking.
All right, Mr. Glover.
I move we adjourn.
I love that idea. Ms. Lochte, are you opposed to that?
No, I'm seconding it.
Okay, we got a second. All right, with that said, it was great seeing you guys. Thank you very much. David, thank you for all you do and all the things you
It was
did.
blowing
And
away.
Thank you all commissioners. You guys have a great night.
Good work, Eddie.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
you,
everybody.
Good night.